What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven. This is Steven in Stereo. Today we're checking out Niall's new album, The Show. I'm really looking forward to this. I love Niall so much. I've just always appreciated his approach to music and sort of the just folkish, classic rock kind of sound that he can put in his vocals. It's incredible to me. Before we get into today's video, don't forget to check out Patreon, where this video will be a full uncut album listening party where we jam the whole thing. I don't cut anything out. It's a much longer video. I have so much content over there when it comes to One Direction and Niall, including like Niall's RTE Orchestra. We did like the documentary watch party, the live show, whatever, the behind the album with Niall. I did the One Direction movie, One Direction Stand Zero. There's so much. So if you're interested in that and supporting my page, links in the description. All things out of the way, I'm excited to dive into this. Two songs we're not going to do only because I already gave them like full videos. So I got to dive into them like a lot more than I would do in an album reaction. And that is Heaven and Meltdown. So we're going to start with If You Leave Me. Oh, so this is the vocal style that like just makes me so stoked when I listen to Niall. He pulls in the classic rock influence so well, and when you hear it in sort of this like this style of instrumental, you hear a lot of bass happening. You hear a lot of, honestly, like a lot of intricacies going on in the instrumental, right? And it lays this like perfect spot for him to just like do what he does best. And I just love the emotional connection he has, like with that sort of raspy vocal, but also just with that smooth delivery. It's incredible. Oh my God, yes. Like that note just goes so far out there. My God, it's just thumping into my fucking soul right now. Oh. You know what's interesting about following like artists that you really love is that you hear this evolution happen to them in a really beautiful way. Like this is a really great example. You know, when he first started out, he had that slower, like acoustic driven singer-songwriter type vibe. Yes, every once in a while he'd have that like pop momentum on a track, but you would always hear his classic rock influence coming through. But the beauty of this constant growth, like with Heartbreak Weather and leading into this album, is that he's been more comfortable experimenting with more and more sounds, experimenting with more and more, intricate instrumentals, because it's coming to life on this. The singles that we heard were already incredible, and now with this track, you're just getting more of that. And it just goes to show that, like, it doesn't matter how long you've been in the game, you're always going to progress, or at least you should be trying to. And I'm so stoked for Niall because that's exactly what's happening here. Okay, Never Grow Up. Oceans in between our sheets, staring at the ceiling with your back to me, turning out the lights. Hope we grow old, but we never grow up. Okay, such important lyricism here. The idea of, I hope we grow old, but we never grow up. Meaning you can stay young at heart for as long as you want, but at the same time, when you're in a relationship, even just a friendship, any of those things, you want to be able to continue having this sort of connection where you can act like kids together almost. Like there's this sort of like unleashed feeling of fun and love and sort of curiosity and trying new things and just kind of like doing things that are exciting. Because what happens is if you quote unquote grow up, the idea being that you're too cool for anything or fun is not in your vocabulary anymore, and suddenly you're not romantic with the person that you love anymore, because how could you be? You're distances away essentially, because mentally, if you're not having that great time anymore, what are you? You got an ocean in between the sheets while you're staring at the ceiling. Nobody wants that. Oh yeah, let's go, Niall. That's the words to live by right there. Let's go. I love this. I love this because I feel such a connection to the lyrics, especially as you get older. You really start to realize that growing up is sort of a choice. And with that comes a lot of negativity if you decide to quote unquote grow up, unless that's the life that you want, in which case I'll shut up. But at the same time, no, I won't, because growing old with somebody doesn't mean that you have to just like be together for 50 years and you're no fun and you have no excitement and there's no joy. So there's no real love. Just because you love somebody doesn't mean that you're expressing that love, doesn't mean that you two are cherishing that love and sort of like helping it grow. And in Niall's perspective in this relationship, he's just saying, I just want to continue to have this amazing time with you, have fun with you. No matter how old we get, we still stay young. I feel like I have that in my marriage. And I wish that for anyone who wants it or has not experienced it, because it's fucking amazing. Niall's vocals are just incredible. Can we just like talk about this for a second? I'm also a huge fan of the use of a sample in this. I know it's not the big deal. Music does it, but like it's cool to hear Niall do it because, you know, you don't typically hear it in this style of genre. Not saying that it's not been done, it has, but you don't hear it as often. So it's always fun to hear those samples being played. Okay, this next track is The Show. Dude, vocally, come on. Oh my god, let's go. What the fuck? Woo! I feel like I'm witnessing a maturing sound almost from him, and this song really showcases that. I feel like this song feels very different than, actually it kind of reminds me of like how I felt about Nothing on Heartbreak Weather, where like he seems so epic in this moment. He seems like larger than life. He's got this almost, his vocals almost narrating outer space, and that says a lot. Like that wouldn't be an easy thing to do. It's a pretty big place out there. And I love this because there is this sense of drama to his vocal in this. There is this sense of theatric, and I think that just goes very well along with the idea of life being the show. And I feel like there's multiple pieces in this where, again, you just feel that larger than life character there, and then you'll get like a layered vocal or that echo effect that really makes his voice just like fucking travel through your ears and through the room you're in, and it's just incredible to hear. And I think that as I'm such a fan of his singer-songwriter stuff, like I still clean my house to Flickr. Like I think I told you guys that in like 2020 that was a thing, and it's still a thing. Like I literally, that's like one of my house cleaning jams because all the songs are just so good. They're approached so well, and it's very relaxing to listen to. Although, albeit very fucking sad at the same time. That's a sad album. But I feel those characteristics even more matured when I hear something like The Show. So this not only is it just an amazing song on this album, but I would be willing to say it's one of his best songs. Because it's really showcasing a different side of him. And honestly, like, we love the growth here. So I love the name of this next song, You Could Start a Cult. Baby, you could start a cult. You see so much more than beautiful. So this whole idea of you could start a cult, he says it in that first line, like, I would give you everything that I am, everything I've been, like I give you my entire life, which is obviously, that is what happens when people join cults. They usually give themselves up to something else, some higher power or some higher being or some higher guy named like Ted or something that just speaks really well. I love this. Like it's funny because like you think of cult and like obviously for the most part it's got this like negative connotation. I like that Niall here is like, no, like I I get it. I would give everything to be with you and to just have you in this moment forever. You could have all of me.
You could start a war or two.
Or two.
Kingdoms fighting over you.
Okay, there's another great example. You could start a war or two. Just basically equating, like, you know, we hear about these stories of people that will do these crazy things in the name of God and country, in the name of a cult, any of these things. And you sometimes think to yourself, like, oh my God, what would put them in that position to even want to do that? And I'm not saying it's healthy that Niall might want to, you know, could equate this person that he loves with these things, but it also makes you empathize and maybe make sense of some of this. Sometimes you're so caught up in whatever you're being told or whatever dream you're being sold or whatever love you have that, like, reality doesn't make as much sense. So I love the lyricism here. It really makes you think. It gives you like a different perspective on this sort of situation. It's very pretty, albeit it could be scary, but it's very pretty. I don't think I've ever heard harmonica notes played that long before. This is definitely new for me. Really cool time signature on that. I like that they left like some night sounds in there, so you could hear crickets, you could hear like the wind whistling. At the end of the day, I think what I really like about this song is, one, I'm glad that they're using this sort of like echo effect on his voice. It's really making him sound just like so big in these songs. I know I said that before, but it's really on a song like this where you've got this a little bit more laid back instrumental, still like a driving force, but it's more laid back. We're really focusing on the vocals here. It just makes you feel like you're standing outside and he's like playing a show, like a very small show. Cause like there's always this little bit of echo on the mics when you're in a venue and you're like outside and he's playing this love song. And it is a love song that is both like happy and like there's a lot of love, but it's also like really scary to have that kind of love for somebody or for something that you'd be willing to, you know, sacrifice your own like well-being or beliefs or well-being of others in order to pursue that love. So there is this kind of double-sided coin here where it's like, yes, that love is so beautiful, but at the same time, this is fucking terrifying because this is the kind of love that people start wars over. And I'm really glad to hear him just kind of like have that sort of dialogue within this track. At the same time, like it is beautiful to be able to love anything like that, where it's like no one else's opinion matters. It's like I love this so much. I think he did incredible here. And I love him with an acoustic guitar. Like, it's just give me Flicker vibes in the best way. Okay, this has saved my life. Okay, so going back to You Could Start a Cult, I was saying, like, you know, you have a love that kind of like gives you this new direction, right? It makes you want to follow into, you know, cult status or war, whatever the case may be. This song also gives me those same kind of vibes. It's like, you don't really know what's kind of going on in your life. It's crazy because you don't know the impact of the people that you meet and what that's going to do to your existence, right? So maybe you're kind of lost at that moment and someone walks in and it's like in one look, when people say like, it's like love at first sight. It's the same thing. You see this person, you're like, oh my God, you could be the person that truly like enhances my existence, enlightens my life, and makes me want to live and thrive in this world. I love these high ranges he's going into on this album. Oh! I'm such a fan of that song. One, I just gonna start with the instrumental because I fucking love an instrumental that has this much depth to it. There's a lot of guitars, there's a lot of bass, there's a lot of drums, there's a lot of switch ups, and that saxophone coming in, oh my God, just fucking shreds so hard. I gotta give it up for Niall's songwriting on this. Love the lyrical content of this track, just like the last one. Fucking so sick. I'm a huge fan of Niall with those high range vocals, like really going up there. I feel like with the show, he did the same thing. There's just this level of like vocal that he's going to that I'm not familiar with him doing quite often. And so it just goes to show that he's also continuing to master his craft, and it sounds incredible in this. So another absolute banger. Could be either a workout themed music video or driving down, like, it's definitely got to be like an open road. You got to have a convertible and you got sunglasses on, your hair's kind of flowing. Either way, that's the theme for that music video right there. That's the treatment. Okay, On a Night Like Tonight.
Way down here, and what's it like up there high in heaven? On a night like
Okay. Fuck yes.
are we just two stars passing by?
Come on.
Wanting you
Okay, I'm a huge fan of David Bowie. So like anytime I feel like there's anything space themed or anything, you know, above the Earth's atmosphere, I immediately think of the Starman. R.I.P. to the Starman. However, I love hearing Niall do this because the thing about that is the minute you think of exploration in the universe, there are multiple vocal layer harmonies. This is like pretty standard in music. Multiple vocal layer harmonies. There's a little bit of kind of like, not delay, but there's a little bit of like echo left. So it feels like you're like in this big open fucking, I don't know, black space with stars everywhere, right? I love Niall in this sound. Like, I love it so much because it does bring so many beautiful elements of classic rock to life. Obviously, David Bowie, come on.
if it's this good. Way down here, then what's it like up there high in heaven?
Boom.
Wanna know what to love you taste like. Wanting your soul sweet, pressed on mine, pressed on mine, pressed on mine.
Oh, I could have done right there just, you know, one more like On a Night Like Tonight. Like, I just love how all of that comes together. Again, you have those multiple vocals layered on so well. It just feels like you're being sung into a galaxy. At that point, because of how beautiful this sounds, just put me in a fucking black hole when the song's over, because like, it's just, if you want to know like absolute perfection before you cease to exist, listen to this song and then sucked into a black hole just like that. Again, what I love about tracks like this, and you know, music has always been able to do this, but really be able to create the scene for you, really be able to make you feel the setting of where that song is. And I truly felt like I was in the middle of like the desert. There's not a light in sight for 100 miles. You look up, you can see every star so clearly. And I'm kind of like being dragged into the past the atmosphere so that we get those extra vocals. So beautiful. All right, Science. Fuck.
And all you wanna do is break out. So when you feel there's nothing left, oh, there's still a heart beating in your chest.
Fuck.
Days in the sun, but all you wanna do
Oh my God.
is break out. Time is crashing down. Oh, if you need somebody, the world's too heavy to shine. It's not too late now.
I literally, I can feel my shins, my fucking goosebumps. I shaved and you're gonna give all my hair back. Fucking Niall. I love this vocal performance from him. It's the perfect amount of emotion, perfect amount of rasp, perfect amount of, there's a range he sings in that reminds me of like early Niall and even like One Direction days. It's like this little bit of a higher range. Not quite, you know, fucking way out there like the show, but we're talking more like, it's just this gritty, I can't even explain it. Doesn't matter. It's this entire song. So there you go. If you need an example, go back and listen to that. And it's so perfect. And then when you add in layered harmonies throughout that. It just gives more body to a sound that is already perfected by Niall. And then you add in lyricism like this, where it really fucking hits you, because it doesn't take much to understand that all the shit that goes on with our bodies and with our life existence and all these things, it's just science. Like, it's just the way that things happen. It's the way that things work. Scientifically and anatomically, your heart beats until it doesn't, or, the fears that we have, or the pressure of the world, all these things that sort of exist around us, when you bake it down to the fact that it's just science, it's the way that the fucking world works, it's the way that things happen, and we can't let it break us down. We can't let the fear of what's going to happen stop us from living a life before science does what it does best, which is ends all of us and then evolves us into something else. And then before you know it, there's like all kinds of other shit going on. But Niall's delivery of it makes me feel comforted in that fear. And I think that it's that sort of emotional connection to music, and then him being able to deliver it the way he does, especially, that Irish bloodline, which I found out that I'm Irish, makes a lot of sense. But that Irish bloodline that he has, that if you listen to Irish folk music and stuff, it is so fucking real. There's so much emotion. There's so much going on in that lyricism, and he brings that to this in such an amazing way. So I love this song so much. Niall, you fucking knocked it out of the park with this one. Okay, last track, Must Be Love. That's really important. If you feel that connection coming on, if it feels like la 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 la, don't hold back from it. Embrace it and follow your heart. And maybe, if it feels like love, let your heart find out if that's what it is, because it might be. Or there's also the other side of this where, if it feels like I'm in love, then I must be in love. Could also be a negative. You might not actually feel that way. You just think you do. Well, making us think. That I noticed throughout this album, first, gotta say, lyrically, I love this because it's really that call out to yourself. How many times are you gonna be fearful or run away from something that could potentially be that love, but as soon as you start to get those feelings, you start to turn away instead of following your heart and following your passion and you should lean into the things that you think could become, wonderful, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, it's just science. Right, Niall? I love this album so much. I feel like there's a big piece of musical evolution that we're seeing in Niall. I noticed it from Flicker to Heartbreak Weather. And I feel like from Heartbreak Weather to this, there's been this sort of like really fixing some finite details, really honing in on those vocals, really bringing in those instrumentals to an even stronger place. And I feel like this is Niall in 2023. This is all the work that has been being done behind the scenes during the pandemic, all those things to lead up to a moment. This is that moment. I think what Niall does here, not only is there a emotional maturity, a songwriting maturity, but I feel like the themes in this, look at this. I'm allergic to the idea that this might be over. And of course, that's just science. But I feel like the themes in this were very mature in a way to look at life. You Could Start a Cult and Save My Life. Both those things, I think those songs go together very well. But that's a really mature way of being able to look at something that is almost always a negative. And with that, also lets you look at maybe things that you do in your own life. And, am I doing something? Am I following along with something that is either going to save my life? Or is it going to have me start a cult, or both? I feel like songs like The Show really showcase something different in Niall that really pushes what we're going to see within the next 10 years of him. Just more of that sound, more of that introspective sort of songwriting. Again, to me, that's the most powerful, especially as you get older. I feel like you really want to like dive in and hone in on some of those themes that maybe go on in your mind. And I think well played on the show. Also makes me feel great about On a Night Like Tonight, because On a Night Like Tonight, that setting that he was able to write us into, just laying out there watching the stars, wondering about this person that we love, wondering about these relationships that are going on in the universe as well, makes you wonder. But it leads me to like Science, where I feel like Science is such a like emotionally charged song that really makes us think a lot, because at the end of the day, all these things we worry about, it's just science. And when you think about that, it doesn't make it hurt any less, but it makes you understand that everyone's going to have to deal with these things. I'm always that person, like if I have a stomach ache, but the person next to me does too, mine hurts less. I've always been that way. So like, if I know that I'm going to cease to exist, but the person next to me is like, oh yeah, I'm going to die too. Like, we're not going to exist anymore. I don't feel as bad about it. And Niall makes it feel even better by saying, hey, with this hypothesis, statistically, we're all fucked. And it's just science. And I love that. And then I love Must Be Love, because it's him calling himself out on the fact that he's not embracing some of these things as they come into his life and come into his existence. And perhaps if he were to not be fearful and just dive in, he might actually find that love that he's looking for. I love the sound of this. I love the instrumentals. I'm so glad that we hear him really getting intricate, bringing that 70s, sort of classic rock that I know that he loves so much, really bringing that into a piece of his music that makes it part of him. He's always had that, especially if you watch his live performances. His songs always feel different when they're live. And this album is just going to be another great example of, oh my God, I need to see Niall, because some of these songs live, oh my God, I'm thinking about like the show and On a Night Like Tonight in a live setting would be incredible. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comment section what your top 3 songs are on this. I know that there's a fuckload of great music on here. I always make you guys pick 3 because I really want to make you have to think about it. Like, oh my God, what are the 3 that I keep coming back to? I will say that for me, it's the show, On a Night Like Tonight, and Science right now. I'm sure that that will change tremendously over the next couple weeks as I keep listening to this, but that's where I'm at right now. Remember, if you guys want to check out the full uncut album reaction, it's on Patreon, along with a lot of Niall content, a ton of One Direction content, and there's almost like 400 exclusive videos over there that like, they're only available on Patreon. So I have a lot, and I really like long form content over there. So I did the One Direction video diaries the other day. We just did like the whole thing. It was so fucking hilarious, and it's fun to see them in kind of their like younger stages. But I'm a huge fan. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for hanging out and stopping by. Like the video if you want. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Instagram. It's like the social media that I use now. So I will see you all in the next one. Peace.